Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everyone for coming. Nice turnout tonight. Nice outfit in the back row there. We have one change that I'm aware of, 7A. We will not be voting on the budget this evening. Is there any others?
There's a presentation.
And we have some walk-ons, which we'll get to here for retirements.
And we will not do 5B. Or, yeah, 5B. Because it relates to 7A.
So it does.
5B is scratched.
We're out. We're out.
We'll be done by 6 weeks.
Do we have a diploma?
No.
No. Okay, I'd like a motion to accept the resignations of Deborah Pepe, Kathleen Bond, Linda O'Leary, Kathleen Burton, and Nikki Clark.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I added it up, it's 130 years. Someone I caught it. Total.
That was just the one.
That's the lady in the back row. Deb, I understood you said you wouldn't need an alarm clock once you retire. Can we have your phone number, please?
You know, we can have that food service robo person call you as much as you call our house.
Can we ask Deb to just stand out?
Josie. She is standing. No.
Debbie's not here tonight. My name is Josie. I have a very short-term memory. My name is Josie. I have a very short-term memory. I would just like to. Okay. I would just like to say, the job has meant the world to me. I started out in the elementary school. Skipped right over the middle school, came right to the high school, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss the people. Some of the stuff I'm not going to miss so much. I just want to thank the board, the whole school district for a wonderful 27 years. It's been great.
I also started in the elementary school, but I was a parent volunteer and then a teacher's aide, then a student taught here, and then became a teacher here, and I did miss this middle school kind of. I skipped over it. And so Debbie and I didn't realize that we did our careers paralleled each other so much until today. So, but thank you. It's been a good ride.
Thank you.
I will just add quickly that when you look around the room, you can see the great contributions that both of these two folks have offered. When you look at the artworks that are on the walls that are posted up around the room, those have a lot to do with the work that Nikki has done with our students. And when you just look at the character in the back row with Josie, you can see that she is a heck of a lot more than just a secretary in our building. Her enthusiasm and passion and sense of humor have been a great contribution to the culture and the whole climate of our high school. She's a wonderful person and is going to be very, very much missed next year. So thank you to you both. Can I just quickly, I will mention that we're losing with retirement. Kathy Bond and Linda O'Leary have both decided to retire this year. And that is another huge blow to the high school staff. That library is an incredible, not just space, but it has a huge contribution to the culture and climate of our school. Things that they do going above and beyond just helping kids with computers and research and media and things like that. What they have done in terms of helping to plan every awards night and assisting with graduation and making our school a warm and inviting place when people come here. it's always one of the first places that I take people on a tour of my school is the library and introduce them to Kathy and Linda because of what they do there. So I know that they're not here, but they will also be very, very much missed next year as they retire and go on to other much better things. So I do want to send the same thanks to them as well.
That being said, reluctantly, all in favor?
Aye.
You were way too quick with that. Yeah, really, anybody's
Can I just get back to the discussion part for a second, John? I know that Cisco's not here tonight, and I did have the privilege of hiring Kathy Burton many years ago, and just want to thank her for her years of service while I was principal and the wonderful job that she did through all the transitions that we went through in the middle school. And she was a team player the entire time, great with kids, and she will certainly be missed, I'm sure, by both the faculty and the staff and the students of the middle school.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Presentations, the capital project update from Virtually Design Associates and the CNS companies. You're up.
Yeah. You're gonna throw me right in the fire, I guess. We just wanted to give you a quick update on the schedule. Due to the fact that we changed it to being two separate projects now, the roof project for this year that'll happen this summer, and the balance of the capital project in 2014. I sent a sort of a timeline with you. Just wanted to see if there was any questions concerning that timeline. I think the key behind it is getting the drawings into SED, which Beardsley is working very hard to do that. We should have that taken care of, and once that happens, we'll move forward to going out to bid on the 27th of May for the roof project, and from there, moving forward with a very vigorous schedule through the summer, taking care of the roof project. And then the same thing, what we've done, I believe, is try to move up a little bit the schedule for the 2014 capital project. We're looking at moving it, we used to talk about having it go out to bid in February of 2014. We're looking to try to go out to bid in December of 2013, which is going to help us move things up a little bit and hopefully get on the fields maybe in March, depending on weather, starting the work in the main football field, and then also capturing some other things between, say, March and June before the major work of the summer begins. If there's no other questions, concerns?
Michael, I know, and maybe this is, you don't have to answer this, but I know that you've been the manager down in Susquehanna Valley. That's right.
Yeah.
And you are not, that's not done yet, right?
That's correct.
So how do you handle both? Or is somebody else gonna go do that?
We have a game plan. I will be here.
Okay.
Period.
Mhm.
We've dedicated that to you when we gave the presentation. That's what we promised, is that I would be your on-site construction manager. And luckily, I have a gentleman that worked with me the first 2 summers down at SV, because this will be the 4th year I've been down there. The district will be pleased to have him take over this summer's work for me and finish out that project. So we should be good in both areas.
I just don't know.
Well, let's not hope in 4 years we're pleased to see you go. Right?
Let's hope it's not.
Well, he said they were pleased that the other guy's coming in.
Right.
They're pleased to see him go.
Pleased because he's replacing me. They weren't pleased that I might not be.
Okay.
I didn't want to get into that discussion. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Do the drawings. Right, we gotta make the, I mean, this whole thing's predicated on getting that paper in order, right? So that they can push it somewhere else. So it starts when you let it loose, right? So that's the whole, he's putting his word on your word.
I trust Mr. Moulin 100%.
Very good.
Oh, mercy.
That's that, Steve. That's that.
Do you have anything, Steve?
No, sir. No, I was here to answer any questions you might have and also to pick up some paperwork on my phone.
I just had another question about the roof decking. Have we made any progress on finding out what that?
We actually, was it 2 weeks ago now, we got above pretty much all the ceilings in the elementary school and here in the high school. We didn't see the extent of damage we expected to see
Okay.
from the kind of surveys we did, the infrared surveys we did. So we got a lot of good information, and we've also come up with a strategy of, we came up with the idea of when we're over a gypsum deck, you're sitting under a gypsum deck right now. When we're over a gypsum deck, we'll be removing all the insulation so we can see the condition of the deck itself.
Yeah.
And then we can evaluate then, and we're working in allowances into the bidding documents for that too. But we've done our homework.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
So, I thought I saw a traffic consultant.
You did.
That wasn't, that,
They were hired by us.
very good.
And we're gonna have their findings in the first week of April. I believe. We come out here and they mounted some cameras out here, they've done some.
Because you recall, that was actually something that we talked about when that first came up, that very first
Strongly
night.
recommended it.
I think we did.
We took your recommendation.
Right, we trust you 100%, Steve.
Okay, moving on. Open forum. At this time, we would like to give area residents an opportunity to ask any questions about this agenda or about operations within the school district. Personnel matters will not be addressed in a public session. Comments may be recorded and responded to by the Board of Education or superintendent at a later date. We ask that you keep your comments to 2 minutes or less. Any questions?
I don't
Comments?
have questions, I think.
Yes, ma'am, in the back row.
Hi. Thank you, sorry. March has been Youth Arts Month, and we've been doing lots of different activities for the month. One has been a bracket of artists that we've, instead of having like the basketball conferences of, like, I don't even know, sorry, north, south, east, west, I'll guess. We had elementary, middle, high school, and faculty and staff. And so we started out with all these artists, and every week everyone has been voting on which artist they like. I had my students in studio art research all the artists and come up with these posters, and then we did blurbs, emailed blurbs to people. And so the big reveal is going to be this Thursday from 6 to 7:30. We have an art exhibit in the cafeteria here in the high school. And what's also happened is that we've had a visiting artist come in and lead some workshops, and we've taken his and worked some of ours. And so we've had 9, tomorrow's the 10th, workshops. And every Tuesday and Thursday in almost February and March. And it's all dealing with plaster. So we've been plastered for 2 months. and sorry, don't have the elementary kids and the middle school kids and the high school kids. But if you would like to see the works, please come 6 to 7:30 in the high school cafeteria.
Thank you. Anyone else? Moving on to new business. 7B, approval, looking for a motion for the approval of the 2013-14 school calendar.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Can I mention a couple things about the calendar? One is that this calendar has 5 days, I believe, of early release time. Kind of evens out professional development across all 3 buildings. As you know, our middle school has had the team time, but with the early release days, we believe that will be dedicated, and they fall on all the faculty meeting days, as in the TTA contract. So we think that will help provide our staff with some professional development time about once a month, and I think the first one's in maybe December, and then they go the rest of the year in months that work. I mean, if there's another day close, it's a holiday or something, we didn't take it, but this will provide that. And that's notable for our district.
Yeah.
We've had in the past, these things tend to come and go, but we think this is the time to have it next year for our staff.
Else?
Just a quick comment. I just, again, would like to voice my unhappiness with the amount of time between February break and the April break, and would encourage that we try to shift the entire BOCES to a different calendar other than having to have a week off at February. If you look at the calendar, it's 7 weeks between those two times at the most difficult time of the year. I don't think that makes any educational sense, and it's the longest stretch by more than 2 weeks that we have continuous school at any other time during the year. So I just think that collectively we could do a better job, and if we looked at maybe a little less traditional approach to vacations, we would come up with a better solution to this.
I would like to respond to that. I did bring this up at BOCES and made that request.
Well, great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Oh, so then it's what gets, so as we learned the last time, which was new to me, that the BOCES sort of governs what we have here.
Strong influence.
So your objection is, you want to scream louder so they can hear you on the other end?
Well,
or
it's
is
really
it
the
something-
superintendents, is it not the, I mean, the area superintendents have to come to some agreement, so.
And then the board
But it's
votes.
there's a lot of
I know.
factors coming
I know.
together. Some school districts have real certain,
So what do you think the hamstring is here? Because she brought up the BOCES. Is it the leadership of BOCES that's the problem?
No, it's other schedules primarily.
So when you say that think outside the box about vacation, can you give me an example of what you mean?
Well, I think we're
I mean, I'm
scheduled.
looking at the time, I see,
So-
we had this conversation last
Right.
time we voted on it.
Right.
I'm sort of wondering
So
what
if there
your
were-
suggestion is.
If the suggestion were a long weekend in, during President's, what's now the President's Week vacation, if we only did 2 days there and then 3 or 4 weeks later we did, again, a long weekend over March and then went to the traditional spring break, or move this, I mean, the spring break is geared, I would assume, or presume, around religious holiday. You know, I'm not sure that that's, speaking, you know, somewhat heresy here, I'm not sure that that should be a driving force for an educational calendar. So if we even looked at shifting that vacation,
Well, the calendar is based on an agricultural society anyway, which, you know, some of us still are. Right, John?
That's correct.
So you, because we had that this year. We had the split up weekend in February. I heard griping.
A lot of unhappy people.
I heard
Yes,
people griping
they
about
were
that.
very
So
unhappy.
your suggestion of sort of distributing the days differently is good. We just worked around it, but I heard a lot of griping about that in the community. But you're saying maybe we could easily not be as tight as to sort of the, what do? You usually have the Monday off after Easter, I think is the way it goes, right? Seems to me that's what it is this year,
Yes.
right? Because
Yeah.
Easter's early. That seems to be right around the Passover, Easter time. When it has, so maybe we move it up so we're not. But we can't do that on our own. We can't do that unilaterally.
It's really difficult.
Why is
what
that?
happens is.
Because if they're closed, we got a
Yes,
percentage of our kids got no
right,
place to go.
yeah, they're,
And we have nothing for, we have no other option for the kids we send there here.
not really,
No, okay.
not really, other than
And then
long study hall.
they'll be missing additional time,
Double days.
Right.
double days, so.
Okay, so
So
it
it's sort of
really
a
is
collective
BOCES.
all.
Yeah, but it really, what you're telling me is we don't get to decide, because if they're not open, we have a percentage of our population that won't get service.
But they're only open or closed based on the entire superintendent's coming to agreement, are they not, Michael? I mean,
Sounds like you gotta send Gary to that meeting.
Well,
No,
Maybe we'll
well,
get everybody pissed off, and then you can go figure out.
Well,
yeah, thanks.
all I know is calendars started showing up, and actually, Bill Speck brought a calendar down from the BOCES where he's full-time, and so there, it just kind of.
State testing for
I have
State
heard
testing.
I have heard some comments though that people wanted the longer February, so I get mixed messages, to be honest.
Oh,
It
definitely.
killed my ski trip.
Well,
But the point, here's the point.
we could shift spring break earlier, I mean, it doesn't have to be where it is,
Yeah,
it's totally arbitrary.
Well, state testing is in there too, So,
And we have a scoring day following.
so the state testing occurs before that week off in April, and scoring day is the 21st, which is the day after break. So some of it's kind of wedged in there too.
Yeah,
Well,
there's a
some
lot
of
of
it.
factors driving it.
So, Mr. Askell, it
Yes.
doesn't appear to be an easy solution to, I share your concern, because you say there's data. On the 7th week, we get this blip up in Vader stuff, yes? You said that to us when we had this conversation.
Well, I can tell you already, this week has been off to a exciting start.
Exciting start.
Yeah, we'll leave it
Okay.
at that.
How long have we been since our last break? Has it been-
Because we didn't have because we didn't have a February break this year, we had a long weekend. So,
Was it into Tuesday, right? We came back on Wednesday?
yeah. So, but we didn't get that, solid week off in February, so we really haven't had a long period of time away from each other since New Year's.
Okay, that's a little bit.
So next year, the upside is that at least we do have a February break next year in here.
Okay.
So we'll get that week off, so hopefully that will
It'll be
alleviate
interesting to see
something,
how
but
those 7 weeks go then.
you could talk to Dee McCauley. She'll tell you about her week.
We pay you the big bucks.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I figured we had a little time to gas about that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
7C, approval to increase, looking for a motion to approval to increase food service helper positions by 1.0.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
What is this? Did we lose somebody we got to replace?
We actually had a person in the elementary school move to the middle school, and so this is filling that. We had someone under a different title, and that title does not allow that person to access a, cook position. So essentially, anytime we had a cook position opening, we could not hire any of our current staff because they did not have the correct civil service title to access that. So we've changed the title, and this will allow individuals, if they stay with us for 2 years, to access the title cook, should we have future openings.
All in favor?
Did we abolish the old position then?
I'm trying to think, there is not an abolishment, this is a replacement of it. But I guess we.
So,
The
yeah.
position she's.
We could have abolished it.
Could have.
We could have. There's no one in it. How's
Okay.
that?
We didn't fill it.
Anyone else? All in
Future
favor?
meeting, we could abolish.
Opposed? 7D, approval to increase Spanish 7-12 teacher positions by .30.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Run us through the,
Yeah.
so confused by foreign language
This-
scenarios that.
Yeah, that's very possible, because it's a crazy maker to replace the lady who left us mid-year. As you probably, know, we've been advertising French, we worked out sort of a substitute thing in Spanish, and in the end, it wasn't working in French. And so we found a lady to teach, basically, she came and met the students, so Cisco was here to talk about it. She came and met the students, and then now she's teaching them through Skype, basically, and then she's gonna come up when she can. She lives about 4 hours from here, something like that. But in order to make it worth her while for the rest of the year, we need to compensate her fairly. And then on top of that, the Spanish between the middle school, what was left of the middle school, we have pieces of foreign language all over the place. Between the middle school and the high school, we determined that it would be better to just find one person who could actually consider coming back next year, so we'd have some continuity, a person certified now in Spanish, and we found a person, you'll see it later on here, who will come and teach Spanish, who's certified in Spanish. And so it is messy, but our students need French, they need a real French teacher the rest of this year, and they need the Spanish teacher the rest of this year, and so this is what we had to do.
Okay.
If we didn't do this, we would be limping, and I'm guessing you'd have parents sitting out here talking to us about either Spanish or French. So,
What else?
Thank you.
All in favor? Opposed?
Skype or Polycom? Is it Skype?
Do
you know?
Michael?
What do we know about the quality of any of this, Michael?
Skype right now, maybe Polycom in our future,
If when we invest in technology,
when we go there, yes.
because it's possible we're gonna be doing a lot more of this, yes?
Yes.
Not just for language, but a lot more of this in general.
When we needed somebody, that's the way it had to happen.
I think it's really good that we are doing this. Is there a way to evaluate the hell out of this to see how effective it was? Or are we just hoping to just,
We just been started, we're on about fourth day of it, or fifth day into it, so we will look at it.
but they made it a point to come up and interact with the students. How many students are we talking about this person doing?
27.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna shut up now. Should have
And there
talked about
is,
this before the vote.
an adult in the classroom with them.
The Spanish teacher is, that we're hiring is going to be the person who will monitor those
Okay,
students.
wonderful. Thank you.
Moving on to E, appointment of support staff, looking for a motion for
So
a food
moved.
service helper.
So
Second.
moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? F, appointment of instructional staff as presented. Look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
It should be .3, yes? Stacy Butler, .3 or .8, team?
0.5
The
was
point five already
already.
existed.
Oh, the .5 already exists, was
So
an
we-
additional .3, so it's a total
Just to
of
make it
.8.
work.
Gotcha, okay, sorry.
What else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? G, looking for a motion for the authorization for memorandum of agreement between the Trumansburg Central School District and the Trumansburg Support Staff Association regarding extension of the retirement notification date for the 12-13 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
What was the extension?
Can I explain in both the PTA contract and the support staff contract around the longevity award? There's language that says the qualifying individual will indicate in writing to the superintendent of schools his or her intention to leave the district at least 3 months before the end of the semester. We're hearing that some people would like just a short extension just to make sure of their plans, and so this gives them an extra, basically 10 days, which isn't a long time,
Okay.
but it's 10 days.
Okay.
That way they don't have to feel pressured and they can make their decision and still get the longevity that they're entitled to.
And in fact, H is the same thing except on the
It
support
is.
staff
They-
side? Are the rules
They
the
go
same?
together, yes.
Okay.
Basically.
So could we do G and H? Can I move that we put G and H together?
Move.
Okay,
Second.
you got that, Tina? Any other discussion about that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I, the school calendar alteration, looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So one more board meeting before the
April
22nd.
15th,
Sneaking it in around spring break.
a little after. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda, 8A to G.
So moved.
Second.
No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Correspondence, I have none. Anyone else? Administrator's report?
I'd just like to mention, you might have seen an article about the water, it was in the Ithaca
Yes.
Journal. And John White emailed me and said, where are we at with that? I promptly forwarded it straight to Michael Babcock, who's somewhere in Louisiana by now. And he got back to me late today, he said he knows of the problems, he doesn't know of any problems in our water because it was apparently 2 separate sealed wells, but he did tell me who to contact to get the water tested. Jim Drews with BOCES, and it was late today and I haven't heard back yet, but we will need to make sure that our water, I'm feeling okay about it, but we'll make sure. That'd be a lab test, so we will be checking into that.
Good of the order.
Anyone else?
Good of the order. Don't feel compelled.
Trustee, go ahead.
Well, I just want to mention, 2 of our administrators are not here, they're either ill or have ill children, so just so you know.
We had intended to share with you this evening, the budget for adoption at 24.3 million. And at 4:25 this afternoon, we received some new information from the state. And it looks like some numbers in the revenue stream may be changing.
Which way?
In our favor.
Very good.
And so it's our hope, Michael and I will go back and look at, if you recall from the previous presentations, we had that purple column, which is how we apply fund balance. what we're pulling from reserves. And so it's our intent, our expenditure budget is set at this point. We don't see changes moving forward. However, we would like to look at that revenue stream again once we have more solid numbers. And we'll come back on the 15th to present the final numbers to you.
Which then we have to adopt on the 22nd.
That's correct.
So if you have those numbers before then, are you allowed to, can you distribute the information you have when you feel like it's solid? Because even if we don't meet, we can deliberate and then access you as we need to in between meetings.
Yes.
Because, you know how we are about surprises, because then, so it'll be good. Is that a problem?
No, in the expenditure budget you already have at this point, and I don't anticipate any changes there. And so the revenue changes will be very, very few, but they'll be easy to communicate with you in advance.
But significant.
I don't know at this point. We're hoping to get the numbers tomorrow.
You're very cagey tonight.
Actually,
Very cagey.
we saw 3 different organizations give us preliminary information on bills, and all 3 of them were a little bit different, so it's very difficult to tell.
Until he puts his signature on it, we don't know.
Until we
what
see
the deal
some
is.
runs and they pass the bills.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
But when you have them and you feel they're solid, the sooner we get them, the better we can access you to talk more about it individually, or at least in groups of 3.
Well,
Absolutely.
yeah, because we're bound to disagree with it.
Oh, yeah.
We'd like to talk that through before the last meeting.
Okay,
Absolutely.
But as you said, it's revenue.
correct.
So on the off chance that we have revenue beyond what we've already talked about, we have already had some discussion about applying that to next year's,
That is correct.
that we are in fact committed to these expenditures. That really won't be a much of discussable, maybe a couple of minor
There are
pieces.
some minor pieces.
There are minor pieces of the expenditure budget for us to discuss.
That's correct.
That's right. But they're relatively small and I think
The
fixable.
numbers are small.
Yeah, we're not talking about substantial position adjustment things from what we
We're
already.
not, I don't,
No.
I don't think.
Are we, and I sort of be nice to know that,
Yeah.
because that we could discuss, because that doesn't sound like that's gonna change.
That was not our intent. Our hope is that if we can reduce the amount of applied fund balance that we intend to use for 13-14, that would help us in 14-15, so,
And beyond.
yes. If you recall, looking out that 3rd year out is where we really face some fiscal struggles, so anything that we can push out further to lessen that fall from the cliff will be good.
Anyone else? Let's hold on to you for just a moment.
I'm gonna waive. I don't really have much. I really don't have much to report that's unique and interesting tonight.
Do you have anything, Jamie?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, so now we go back to old business, driver's education.
Well, hope,
Are we?
probably all 3 of us will weigh in on this. Oh, do you want, Mike, would you like to offer?
From
anything
administrative
further?
report, Mike?
Oh,
I just have
you're
a
over there
very
in
quick
the corner,
comment.
I never see it.
I also, yeah, I know, I'm hiding over here. We've got a new point of sale terminal in the high school cafeteria. A 3rd aisle now, it's helping the congestion there. And we never could have done it if we didn't have a great wireless network, because the 3rd aisle goes in a location that we can't conveniently get a network wired to. So it was another great payback on the wireless network, able to put in this 3rd point of sale terminal, went in this week. Just want to let you know.
Keep reminding us about the value of technology. Some of us need that reiteration. Some of us need that reiteration.
You got it. I'll be there.
Oh, oops.
So driver ed, let's get this dog going there. What's the deal with the driver ed thing?
Speaking of technology.
Well, you'll probably hear from all 3 of us. It'll be about 200 hours of instruction. Right now, in our TTA contract is a summer school hourly rate. And I am told that we've had almost no summer school taught here in our district. It's all been done through BOCES for about 12 years.
Yep.
So it's
no.
it's not been much used salary schedule, but it is right there. And I think the question for the board will be whether you want students to pay $300 or that would be a question before the board, because that, and then Kimberly and John will weigh in on other details. But as far as I know, it's 200, we'll post the position, based on the TTA's summer school schedule.
The piece that I can add to that is I have factored into the revenue stream $4,500, and that is based on conversation that we have had in charging student tuition for driver's ed. So that is a decision that we can talk about, take back out, discuss. I'll let John weigh in.
There's really, you guys have hit pretty much the bullet points that I had. I called a couple of other districts to find out what their charge was for running a program. The two programs that I talked to were $250 or $300 is what they charged. And so we were discussing a $300 charge. And I talked about just some other details about their programs, but essentially for us, what I need is a sort of a yay or nay that it's something that we'd like to move forward with if we're going to charge for it, because I will need to submit some revised paperwork to the state education department, since we have not, in this last year when we offered it, we were approved as a program that was a free program.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, Kimberly, you're saying that right now you have budgeted $4,500. Is that the extent of the cost of the whole program?
No.
No.
I have factored in, not knowing which way this conversation would go, I did factor in a line in the revenue stream, and at the same time, I have most of the fee structure included in the expenditure budget. So that's a shift that I can make. Being the first year, for us to charge tuition, I didn't know definitely that we would be able to collect that. We also hadn't set the guideline, would we run the class if there were a minimum number of students? So it made me a little bit nervous to set up that revenue stream and promise a program based on that stream if we didn't have it. So I have us covered on both sides at this point.
But our driver ed has been fully, is full every year.
Yes.
So.
And I have more than enough requests right now.
Okay.
I have not gone back out to ask those folks who submitted. What I did is, when I do my course selection process for next year's schedule, I also put an addendum on the bottom that says for juniors and seniors that if they're interested, please let me, check here if you're interested in possibly participating in a driver's ed program. So I have more than enough requests. That is not, there's nothing on there though that says that it will cost you $300 to do so. So I do need to find, I will need to send letters out to all the students and families that have expressed an interest to see if they're still interested if we offer the program for $300.
Because she said collect the money, not have a full class.
What?
This is the way money people talk.
And we want to offer a scholarship to, if we ran the class at 20, to at least 5 students.
So what is the anticipated cost of driver ed? Do we have that number?
Well, that depends on what the person who teaches the class, because we have to post the position. Our salary schedule offers a range for a first-year person, and is it $17 an hour, up to a maximum of $27 an hour.
So
times 200 hours to run the program. And I know that is less than what most other districts are paying right now for a driver's ed program.
$5,400, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
at the maximum rate, yeah.
At the maximum rate, $5,400, and we have you have a $4,500 allowance
Correct.
in the budget. So that's $900.
Assuming that we can charge that and
20 kids is $45 each. What am I missing?
They're already paying the 300.
What's that?
That 4,500 counts for them paying, and then 5 scholarships.
Oh.
So we're absorbing the cost of.
So we don't have any money for driver ed.
We do.
How much?
I have left the budget line at what it was last year, $75.95. Not knowing $7,595 is in that expenditure line at this point.
What am I not getting? What's the cost of the driver ed? What is at the maximum rate?
At the maximum rate's Just under $5,500.
For the person, for the
Plus-
person.
Yes, for the person,
person.
plus we have to pay for gas in the car,
Okay,
so,
So she's budgeted $7,500.
It's,
yeah.
it's 54, and then on top of that, included in that figure is not including FICA and TRS if it were a teacher to be hired. So if you added on, Michael, we calculated those numbers earlier today, was that
It's about $1.26. Every dollar we spend in salaries, 26 more cents in benefits.
Okay, so another.
so roughly
100.
6,700.
So, let me get this straight, driver ed costs $6,700 plus gas. You've allowed 75 in the budget, is that correct?
Correct.
So we have it covered.
We have it covered whether we charge tuition or if we chose not to charge tuition.
Oh,
we
so,
have it covered.
we're thinking about using driver ed as a fundraiser for our school, is that it?
To offset the expenditure, because I couldn't guarantee if the district said we're going to move forward with this program, that individuals would be able to pay the tuition. So if they're not able to pay that tuition,
We have to subsidize.
we
still
have to be
pay
able
the
to pay
person.
for the program if we've committed to it.
I'm feeling tricky.
If we move forward and we say we're not going to charge tuition, then that revenue
Yeah.
stream can be applied to something different.
Well, can I ask a simple, I mean,
Not-
we
I'm
wanna
sorry,
do
not
driver's
apply to
ed, right?
something.
You guys really wanna do
I
driver's
want
ed.
to, I
Yes.
don't know about, yeah.
Do we have the money to do it?
We have the
The
money.
the
to
question
do
is
this.
then, do we wanna charge, or we wanna do it off the 7,500 that's in there?
So
That's
if
the
you-
question
if
to
you-
the board,
and
it
if
seems to
you
me.
charge tuition, then the revenue stream that would offset that expenditure would allow the monies that are allocated for driver's education to go somewhere else
Into
within
the
the
fund
budget.
balance or something.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And your
Not
question
fundraiser.
is still legitimate.
It's not a it's not a fundraiser. It's not a fundraiser.
Sure it is.
It was just, it was at
It's
a
pay to
point,
play.
it was at
Right.
a point
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
there was not yet a decision made, so I had to play it out both ways to say, what would the Board of Education like us to do?
Can we do percentages?
You can do whatever you like to do.
Have we ever charged?
Can I ask what the rationale is for charging for this particular course as opposed to any other course?
I think initially it was that we were trying to offset that expenditure and other districts charge for that service. So it
not
doesn't
impressive it
necessarily
didn't
need to
charge.
be credit bearing.
Pardon?
It doesn't necessarily have to be a credit bearing class, and other districts charge for driver education. So as we were tightening budget lines, we thought that could be an area.
What is the cost to a student?
We
$300.
had suggested 300.
It seems to be in line.
Approximately, rough estimate?
20 kids. The program by design, you can only have 20 kids in it in order to get the, if we only have one teacher, we can only offer it to 20 kids because of the way the schedule has to be set up, because they have to
That's the
have.
maximum census, and you've got at least 20, give or take, kids. that
Oh, I've
take it.
got more than 20 kids that are interested in the program right now, but that's also based on the fact that we've never charged for it before. So if folks are assuming that it's free, I don't know, again, like I said, I would have to send out, as soon as I have a decision and guidance from you, I will send out a letter to those kids who are interested and set up, we'll actually start building the schedule. But if it is gonna be for a fee, then I'll send a letter to see if folks are still interested.
I think we should offer driver's ed for free, that's what I think.
I would second Peter's thought there. I think that the only, it appears that the only reason we're considering this is that it's the path of least resistance with the smallest number of protests possible for pay to play. And certainly there are other school districts that pay to play for sports, they pay to play for some advanced placement courses, and we're not even thinking about doing that either because we feel that we can afford it or because we're not willing to take the backlash that would create. It seems like from my point of view, a poor rationale to pick out driver's ed to say, okay, this is the one that we're gonna use to make students pay.
Why?
Because
Other districts are doing it.
Sure, but other districts are doing pay to play for athletics. We're not considering that. So if money's the real issue here and what we're trying to do is save money, then we ought to be looking at something that really has an impact as opposed to a measly $4,500. So if we're really embracing the philosophy that this is now a budgetary matter and we're gonna have pay to play, then let's consider everything on that equal footing and not simply this because it affects the least number of students, which will create the least amount of backlash in the community.
And
Which
Gary,
is what I think this is serious.
That's why they were doing
it.
Well, what's the other rationale?
2 months ago.
Because we're short on money.
We need to
This
start
we're
with
short on
that.
money, and this is something that feels like an add-on.
And it's
Gary,
a,
That's it. You're drawing into it that they did it with some nefarious.
No,
thing.
I'm not.
Well, to suggest that they're doing it because they get the least backlash is definitely suggesting that.
Well, so I'm not
You are.
suggesting it, I'm coming out and saying
There
it.
you go.
Okay,
Good. That's what I love about it.
but the fact is that if we're looking at saving money because other districts also charge for things, then let's look at something that is really going to save us money. $4,500 out of a $24.5 million budget can hardly be considered a rationale for cost savings.
Well,
Can I just speak for 1 moment?
Yeah,
Please?
go ahead.
Thank you. So 2 months ago, when we were building this budget, we did not believe that there was money in the budget at all to run driver's education, which is when the idea of revenue came up to charge a fee for the program because the district felt that it was important to offer that service to our students. Since that time, things have shifted, and now we are able to expend money from that budgetary line. But since we already had it in the revenue stream, we felt that we should bring it to the board and present both sides this evening for a decision to be made. It certainly wasn't to get the least backlash.
Okay.
We have to start someplace at some point. I don't understand why that, whether it's a small number or we can find the biggest number we can possibly find and go choose that first. I don't know that it really matters. This seems to me to make sense that it's something I paid for. We brought up when I went to driver's ed.
And I think, listen, there's two discussions going on here, and they're getting muddled up. I think this board is, you guys particularly, have had a very strong feeling about the need for driver's ed. There's no doubt about the data, right? Kids go to driver's ed, they get money off on their insurance, they're better drivers. I mean, there's no question about those things. So we value it, and it sounds like we value it enough. You've got a number in there. Well, good. The broader discussion that Gary brings up, you know, very much, that's an important discussion for us. I don't think we should muddle this discussion with it, but I think it's a good point. When are we going to get serious about more community financial resources beyond taxes used for the school district? What happens here? That's a big question.
Yeah.
And you can bet we're going to have that question.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't
why
think-
can't we take baby steps and say, would you be willing to split the difference with us?
Well, we know Gary's position on this matter. So we value driver ed.
Yes.
We don't want to charge $300. We're done with this, right? Maybe I'm missing something.
Well, I'm not sure everybody agrees.
No,
Yeah.
I would like to
willing
make a motion that we offer
I'll do it,
driver's ed
sure.
this summer
Split the difference.
for free.
Wait, Jane's got, what are you saying?
Since- split the
I would like to
difference.
make
Make
a
a
motion
motion.
that we offer driver's ed this summer. First come, first served, whatever, however you want to arrange it, John, at no cost to students.
Second.
further discussion? All in favor?
When we gotta have further discussion now,
I
that we've
just
got the
said.
motion. Jane, you had a point?
I betwixt and between, the idea, yes, it's a valuable program, but I also think that we have to sort of alter our philosophy a little bit, and while it may seem, Gary, and I agree, tiny, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Somewhere along the line, we're gonna have to be able to take a sort of out-of-the-box idea of looking at where we can save money. And, you know, several raindrops add up to a flood, so why can't, and I think the community needs to understand that maybe they have to take a little bit of responsibility for some of these non-academic programs that we're talking about. So if $300 is, I would imagine for a lot of kids is tough. I still think that maybe we should be able to charge something.
And if the budget's any tighter, this will be the first thing on the chopping block,
Right, we just go out the window.
quite likely.
If it could become a self-supporting or at least a self-contributing program, then we would look at it with less prejudice.
Well, the flip side would be, what if all 20 students say they're in need?
Yeah.
We have to determine we'd have to determine a criteria for eligibility. And that's something that we could, I mean, there's other districts that have done that. So it's not hard for me to go out and start reading research what other districts have established as a criteria and utilize something similar.
Douglas, do you have a position on this?
I guess I'm a little torn. I'm also somewhat concerned about whether pay to play, technically speaking, particularly for sports, is actually condoned in the state.
This,
As I recall, it's not.
I don't think it is. So I think we may be somewhat having a discussion.
Okay,
this impacts 20 people, it doesn't impact the majority of the student body. It's 20 individuals that we're talking about, they're gonna get a chance to use this. So if we have to charge for anything, it should be something that is just selected the people that are gonna go into. If you want to take driver's ed and you wanna pay for your education to go do it, we'll provide the service. But we're not talking about something that impacts the entire school system. We're talking about 20 people.
We have a lot of classes that only have 20 people.
Point well taken, Peter. I'm just saying, this is.
Or half.
Or has it the school's responsibility to pay for free?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some, lot of distinctions here. I would really like to keep this discussion as focused as possible. We value driver ed, and you, Peter's motion and seconded is that we want to offer it for no charge. So that's the motion on the table. We can keep yakking about it, but eventually, I mean, it sounds like we're gonna go off into different subjects on this thing, so, I mean, do we wanna call a vote?
Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
How many opposed?
Two noes. Two noes.
Three noes.
Three. Oh, you were no, three noes.
4-3, it passes.
On the larger discussion that I brought up at our last board meeting, has there been any movement in terms of coming to an understanding with the TTA and a memorandum of agreement to pay the driver ed teacher more than we're paying for curriculum development?
There's been no progress.
Will there be?
The comment was that we would probably have to open up the whole summer school thing, summer school paid. Yep.
I can answer the question in terms of what are we paying, what has been the pay, but I mean, it really, that's, I mean.
Is there opposition, am I sensing opposition to opening that up for, since we haven't had summer school for the last 12 or 15 years, opening up that discussion on a broad basis when it, at this point, is only going to affect the driver ed course, seems like, if in fact there's support to do that, which I don't know whether there is or not, but I'm voicing my support to say, I think it's absurd that we're paying teachers to write curriculum, you know, without any student responsibility, etc., and now paying a driver ed teacher who has an enormous amount of responsibility, the most probably of any teacher that we have in the system, less.
Are we
Doesn't make sense to
underpaying
me.
this person relative to what other districts are paying? Significantly?
Depends on who applies.
The district.
Depends on who applies.
So there's a scale, but I believe, according to the contract, it's Trumansburg specific. So you have to have taught summer school for X number of years to reach the top of the scale.
In Trumansburg.
In Trumansburg.
By Trumansburg.
By Trumansburg.
This
So
is
if you have not,
So
you
if-
start at the bottom of the scale.
Right. So BOCES paid for the last 13 years $30 an hour because the program was funded through a grant, and that was an established rate. It was $30 an hour. The only other district that I spoke to that's currently running a program right now pays $30 an hour. So if we post the position and somebody who has not taught in the district takes it, it's on the scale, and we said the range is starts at $17 and only goes as high as 27. So if a person came that hasn't taught summer school in the district,
well,
we're talking 2 years.
Well, they would have only been able to teach 3 years in the district.
Well, last year was the first year.
Okay, so they would have only been able to
Right.
teach 2 years.
Right.
So that would bump them to like $19 an hour?
Something like that, yeah.
So
So the likelihood of us filling that position internally might not be as high. We probably have, we have to post the position.
So, but to change this, we gotta open this contract.
We
I
just
think we
agreed.
really need to revisit the contract, yeah.
So we have to come to a memorandum of understanding
Well,
on
how about
this
this, Gary?
specific clause.
How about this, Gary?
Sure.
I got a suggestion. How about we wait for the next contract and offer that up? We use it as a negotiating item. I think we got enough muddle in this thing. Somebody applies, they want the job, take it, they don't like it for what it is, move on. I'm with you 100% about the principle of kid responsibility, no kid responsibility, but I don't personally think it's warranted opening up this contract again. Or getting another memorandum on this thing, so look like a NASCAR thing pretty soon. That's my, that's my opinion. I think, I don't know what everybody else thinks about this.
I just assume leave the contract alone
Yeah, I think that's very messy.
after 2 years of a lot of leaking.
Do you have an opinion on this, Pete?
Yeah, I'd just soon leave it alone. You know, you guys worked awful hard on that contract. I voted against it, so, you know, just leave it where it is.
Jane, do you care? Where are you at this?
I do care, but I think we should leave the contract where it is.
But in principle, we support what Gary's saying to a certain extent, that there should be some equality in what we're doing. And it just seems like one of those goofy things. You got a summer school salary that this thing is tied to.
Right.
And it's just sort of goofy. But so it's good that we know it, now we deal with it next time.
Well, if our top salary that we could potentially offer, depending upon somebody who's probably in their 80s, given the fact that they would have had been in summer school 30 years ago, and is still paying less than what's normally considered to be the going rate.
Well, some summer school teachers in the BOCES program are paid $43 an hour.
And we're offering 27, if indeed you call it.
But that's a whole different ballgame.
But then again, I'm not stating this to counter. I think the point is that I'm just giving you facts. I'm not trying to express my opinion here. I'm just simply saying that BOCES pays their teachers if they teach summer school. Now they're not paid for prep. They're paid a flat rate to teach summer school, and they're paid $43 an hour if they teach summer school through the BOCES program. The driver's ed position was separate from the summer school teaching position at BOCES because it was funded through a grant. So the driver's ed teacher was paid $30 an hour, which again was significantly less than what the summer school teachers were paid. But because it was funded through a grant, I talked extensively with Doug Chappell about how they ran the program and what the fees were and cost structures and everything. And the point was that it was always run as its own entity. It was not part of summer school. It wasn't taught as summer school. It was the summer driver's ed program funded through a grant. It was not impacted by their contract. For us, it needs to be part of our contract because we don't have a grant. We don't have some other body that would govern driver's ed.
Taxpayers' money.
Yeah. So.
It's a very good discussion. Thank you.
Do we have anything in policy?
I'm sorry, one clarifying question. So the salary for this would simply be the, I assume, 6 weeks of driver ed or?
200 hours. I think they
It's
said.
200 hours over 5 weeks, 40 hours a week for 5 weeks.
Okay. And that's all instructional time?
That's 36 hours a week in instructional time plus 4 hours for prep.
Checking the oil stuff.
We drove a Pacer when I was in high school for the driver's ed.
Okay.
Remember that car that used to park another car inside of it? If you could park that car, you could park any car. That's what the driver ed teacher told me.
Do you have anything in policy?
I had just a question. Oh, go ahead. There you go first.
Well, no, mine is sort of a question also, so you go.
I just have a question about the cost of our policy with what is Erie BOCES. Do we renew that every year at a cost of 30?
I will have to look that number up for you, Peter.
It's a big
I think
number.
it's 33,000.
Can't we renew it every other year?
No.
We have the book.
No, why not? Why not?
Because we're gonna miss.
The policy number, I remember this being a big number the last time.
I'll get you that number.
I can give you the number. It's right here.
It's in there.
It's mixed in with others, though. There's
Oh,
others.
it's blended?
Oh, there's
It's blended
more?
with other services. That number alone is not just for policy.
37,000 is that
Right.
number. But is there any way of trying to, I mean, we have a policy year after year after year, it evolves, it changes slightly.
That's fine, it's the new policies that concern me, that come out of the state, that we could be missing.
Yeah, but what if we don't? What if we don't miss one?
The last of the keys.
What?
They'll ask for their keys back.
Probably. But
Policy-
I just wonder, you know, we probably pay $40,000 or $50,000 a year, every year. There's minor changes in policy every year. Why can't we just say, here's the policy this year, 2 years from now, we'll take all those changes and incorporate them in? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I gotta tell you, one of the things that's critical, one of the primary functions of this board is policy.
It
We have to keep
is,
track of it, so,
yes.
I don't know, I really want some pretty clear, I think, listen, we gotta question everything
Yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
We could hire a half-time person for that.
For
That did nothing but policy out of the state ed department.
You're quite correct.
That seems,
Well, sounds like we wanna look at that. Let's find out what we're getting, let's find out what we're getting. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask what we're getting, we ask most is what we're getting, right, we ask everybody, what do we get for what we
job for
give you?
37,000.
Thank you, sorry.
Anyone else? Board forum?
At risk of rocking the boat, I was gonna say that I would volunteer to pick 3 policies that seem the most critical to go over, prepare them and get them out to the policy committee so that we can kind of get that moving again. Would that be agreeable?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I will.
Anyone from board forum?
I just wanna remind the board, we're 3 months from deciding the succession here. So, the way it was working was, you'd sit in this for 2 years and then move on to presidency. That's the way it's set up now. I have to run in the middle of my presidential term, which they may throw me out with the rate I'm going these days. So,
Frank,
we
you're far
need
too
to
entertaining to be thrown out.
we need to be, discussing amongst, as a board, about vice president and the succession from there. We don't have to do it tonight, but we have to start thinking about that. We have to start thinking about our intentions on how we want to do this, so we're in a
You're
transition.
essentially saying, Frank, that you have a real busy year or two before the Olympics, is that it? Or,
No.
or is it just that
No.
you're assuming the bully public and we get sick of it?
Know the history behind
I really don't know what it is you tried to say right there, but what I'm gonna say is, I'm perfectly willing and ready to take over the presidency. I've sort of figured out the things, John's strengths and weaknesses, and see if I can sort of advance that agenda myself. So someone has to move into the vice presidency, I would think. If we're following what we set out about 5 or 6 years ago, we need to start thinking about it. We don't need to, since there was talking about it, but we should talk about, number one, do we want to continue that kind of succession? And if we do, what will that look like?
Yes.
On a slightly less contentious note, Trumansburg this weekend, or last weekend, had a very successful play, and there are 2 people in the audience that I would like to recognize because they were almost 100% responsible. Taylor and Olivia, would you stand up, please?
Well done, Jane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quite a kid.
This was the kids.
And the middle school was crazy.
Did you teach Tucker those moves?
And not me. Yeah.
It's good.
It's really
It's like a
good.
boy band in a box.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session.
No, okay.
Matters relating to the appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, dismissal, removal of a particular person or corporation.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all for coming.